Good evening, and thank you very much for taking time off after the school day. It was a school day today, right? So you're coming from school. Thank you very much. I hope you keep your attention for the next about 2 hours. I'm Tushar Chaudhary. I teach here at the Hong Kong Baptist University. And before we actually start off, I would like to tell you where you are. Of course, you are at the Hong Kong Baptist University at Kowloon Tong, but specifically you are at the Department of Government and International Studies and at the European Studies program of the department, which is a bachelor program of 4 years, and the third year of that program is spent either in Germany or in France, because our students specialize in that country. So my colleagues that you see here are also actually ex-students of ours, and they are from the European Union academic program. These are two different programs that we have here at the university. The European Studies program is the bachelor program, and the European Union academic program is a program which is funded by the European Union directly, and where Hong Kong Baptist University is a coordinating part of it, and it is also the program which is actually designed this project. It is their project, and the European Studies program is a part of that project. So I will Doris, my colleague from the UAP, to tell you something about the European Union academic program.
So I guess all we have this folder, and I put in some information of our program here inside, bilingual. And then you can see here some of the materials we have produced for secondary school students. Some stickers, autobus card, and then there are also some publications that are for free, provided by the European Union, and we order it online for free. And it's available for all teachers that are interested to use our materials. And there are a lot of different publications also available that you can order through us. And I want to talk a little bit about our outreach team and what we have done for the secondary school students, because our program, the European Union academic program, is designed not only for secondary school students, but also actually for the general public and university students and also academics. But then we have especially set up a team for secondary school students, and our aim is to promote the awareness of the European Union among young people. And then we have previously already produced some teaching learning materials. It was designed like 1 year ago and covering a lot of topics. But then we a few months ago, we have been working on an e-education platform that I would like to show you a little bit. This is a bilingual platform, which we have put all the materials we have produced online. And you can see here about us and our activities. And this is the most important part, the teaching learning materials. And you can switch it to English here. And we have produced materials on these 6 topics. For example, globalization 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And this with multimedia like pictures, text, links, and also videos. This is only one part of what we have done. And we also cover recent news on the EU as for backup materials, and also some cultural events that students might be interested to take a look at. And the last column is called Europe. And we have some alumni and other people contributing articles for us. And this is what we have done in the past few months. And we also have a Facebook page. And then if students and teachers have liked our page, they can easily see the updates of our articles. And we have included all the links already on this sticker. And then I will send you all the links after this workshop, and then you can like us and then keep track of our materials. So this is not the focus of today. And then I also need to talk about this blog competition we have held for the secondary school students this April. This is the first activity we have, the outreach activity that we have held for secondary school students. And because we have already produced materials on urban cycling and waste management, so we asked the secondary school students to create a blog using the materials from us, using some examples and case studies from Europe, and make a comparison to Hong Kong, to see how they can exchange some ideas, for example, to create more bicycle path in the city, something like that. And then we have received quite plenty of entries, and we also have the award ceremony just 1 month ago. This is so by far the first activity we have created, and we already see some interest in the European examples as on sustainable living. And then it actually leads us to the project we are talking about now. So Tusha is going to talk more.
Right. So if we, as you can see, the UAP also has the secondary schools in Hong Kong and secondary school students in Hong Kong as one of its focus audience. So what we want to do now is take this to a wider level, and being the European Union Academic Program and being the European Studies Program, we would like to connect up our schools which are interested and students of these schools with students in Europe also studying same age group, maybe same classes, on an e-platform which we have here at the university, and it's a Blackboard platform. I'm not sure whether some of you have any experience with the Blackboard platform. Do the schools use nowadays the LMSs like Blackboard or Moodle? Well, no worries, we're going to take you through that. So it is one can call it an online tele-collaboration project where students will write their blogs on the Blackboard platform, both from Europe and from Hong Kong, and they will comment on each other, on each other's discussions, comments, blogs, etc. And they will learn about the theme of sustainability. And we will talk about, we are calling the project, of course, Green Living and Sustainability in the Community. So they will, in the course of this, using these materials on Blackboard, they will learn a little bit about what is sustainability, and also what kind of work is being done in this field of sustainability. So they will have some research tasks that they need to do, go to some of the materials that we have prepared for them on the Blackboard platform. They will then post their own views about what they have learned onto the discussion forums of the Blackboard platform. And then, of course, we would like them to evaluate their communities, evaluate the place, their neighborhoods actually, not only Hong Kong as a whole, but the neighborhood. How, as a family, am I a sustainable family? Do I do enough for the environment? Do my friends do enough for the environment? Can I convince them to do more? And that is the topic of the project, of the final project that we do, where students would be encouraged or helped also to kind of spread the word about sustainability, to see if they can convince other people to be to have some habits, some awareness about how sustainability can be promoted within the community. And this project we're planning to have presented to an international audience, which is an audience in Europe, and an audience here in Hong Kong, with an international jury which would kind of look at these projects and select the best of these projects that have been presented by the students. So that is a short brief introduction to what our aims are, our ideals. It sounds a little ambitious and difficult at this moment, but when things start becoming more concrete, which starts with you today here in this room, which means that we have a very concrete target audience now who are participants. They're not audience anymore, but participants. So this is what we plan to do. Today, after this introduction that we've done, we will now walk you through the 3 project phases that we have. These are which I've already outlined. Julian will take you through a little bit of the details of these phases. Then Orange, standing right behind you, will show us a little bit about Blackboard. You already have preset accounts on Blackboard today evening, so you can kind of also hands-on try it out, see how it works, so that you can give it to your students when you see them. And then we would like to, if time permits, we would like to have a small trial run of one of the tasks that we have on the Blackboard platform. And finally, we should be able to give you plenty of time to ask questions.
So the first 3 weeks we learn about gathering knowledge. So obviously gathering knowledge about sustainability, I understand that some schools have already done a little bit of work on this area, or even a lot. I think probably some of them know quite a few things about sustainability. But we'd like to introduce it in more of an alternative approach to the more traditional conceptions of this idea. So we're not just talking about the kind of the recycling or the 4 R's as we know it, but more about, more the fact that we'll use this, what the students make of this concept, and also the 4 topics that we'll devise in phase 2 that they will learn about, and also later in the project, in the 3-week project that they'll learn about sustainability. So the first phase, gathering knowledge, students will be using Blackboard to understand sustainability and sustainable living. And they'll be introduced to the best practices from Hong Kong and European cities on sustainable and green living. And the teacher's role will be facilitating the discussions mainly. They won't be needing to do too much. Throughout the 8 weeks, in fact, they don't need to be preparing too much materials before or after the class, because the main point about this kind of self-regulated, self-directed learning is that they will know exactly, the students will know exactly where to head, because we'll give them the right clues, the right directions in order for them to carry forward. So these are the tasks. And then after having gathered a basic idea from both their own thoughts, from what their previous understandings, and also we'll give them clues as to what experts think of the concept of sustainability. Then we lead them onto the second phase, which is the research task, and that's kind of the, I guess, one of the core elements, the core part of this whole project. Although it's only 2 weeks, students will be learning, I guess, the most out of this project, and they will choose one of the 4 topics on Blackboard. So I guess you know the 4 topics. They will be on food, they will be on plastics and toxic waste, they will be on fashion, and it will be on cities. So these are the 4 big areas that they'll be looking at. And working in small groups, 4 to 8 people, as I'll explain later. They'll be doing these small research tasks which we've set out for them. And they'll be answering simple questions through discussions on forums, reading comprehensions, news and article summaries, short pieces of writing allowing to explore their independent ideas and reflection and observation of the habits of neighbors, friends and family. Because at this stage, I guess this information gathering is quite important for both students and the teachers. The teachers probably want to let them know that by gathering this knowledge, they will be bringing forward their ideas onto the 3rd phase of the project. So it's not as if they've learned something and they can move on and completely forget about it, because what they learn will be extremely useful in deciding their topic and further ideas to do for their independent research project. So teachers will we expect teachers to mainly play a sort of an advisory role in helping and making sure students work to the schedule and submit tasks according to the time set out in the program. So there's nothing too taxing, too difficult about what the teachers need to do. So don't worry about kind of marking, giving them grades on their work. It's important to know what they're doing, and you can obviously have a look through their thoughts, their ideas on the discussion forums or on the various maybe Wordle or different ideas or summaries. But yes, we want them to to feel that they are learning something by themselves. So that's very important. So for teachers, don't worry, you don't need to know the topics in full detail at all, because in advance or even in depth, because we have created the right amount of content that will hopefully guide them through to the exact point where they will be able to do the project and gain a lot out of it. So your main tasks will be to coordinate with us, with the UAP team, if you have any issues or questions or feedback throughout this phase. Okay, and then we have the phase 3, which is the independent project. So this is the name of this independent project is called Towards Sustainable Living in the Community. So we have devised 3 stages for this project. So in the first phase, which is the first stage, which is the planning stage, we've got 3 stages. So usual kind of project planning, implementation, and the evaluation. So for planning, we want to ask the students to gather findings and knowledge from the previous 2 weeks, or even the first 3 weeks from the knowledge they have gained, to obtain ideas and then the initiatives which they can discuss for the project. And then teachers will use a set of guiding questions which we'll provide to you. You don't need to follow them, but they'll be quite useful in assisting the students to narrow down the ideas and deciding on their topic, because we want them to create to think of topics which they can really realistically research upon. So students need to communicate and organize with teammates in Europe. So we'll set up we'll let the European schools know exactly what they're doing, and so that you can, students, maybe say 2 groups, 2 students in Hong Kong and 2 students in Europe, will be able to coordinate and agree on the common task area which they can really engage into. And then they'll need to make a proposal of what they want to do, set up the goals and targets and a working timetable, and divide the roles between Hong Kong and Europe, and they should put that into a document and then upload onto Blackboard. So that's kind of the initial proposal kind of stage. And then the next stage is the implementation, where students will be should begin kind of observing different habits and the patterns of sustainability within the community, and take action in attempt to bring change to behavior. So, and then they'll submit an interim report. So I guess I can give you some very basic idea as to what potential projects the students can engage in. So for instance, in maybe for Hong Kong, particularly relevant is the issue of plastic bags. So seeing, maybe going to the streets or even their blocks of the block of flats, and seeing what's the kind of the common how common is our plastic bags used, and whether they could do anything about it to reduce the use of plastic bags. They can do something to do with green roofs, so rooftop gardening. That's quite a popular kind of thing. Maybe edible landscaping, or things like food purchasing guidelines. Propose something which would encourage people to think more sustainably, if not act more sustainably. Things like food waste reduction proposals, or labeling food in the cafeteria or something like that. Or yes, or even to think of something even more advanced in terms of things like biofuels or something. But those are kind of a little bit more for the students to explore themselves, and obviously the teachers can feel free to discuss with them as to what potentially they could do. So they observe these habits and patterns of sustainability, and then try and implement it at their decided level. It doesn't need to be massive. It can it probably only needs to involve maybe 10-20 people, or whatever they choose. And then what they need to do is to see that they can at least try and change behavior within the community. And then third phase is the evaluation. So students will assess the successes and the limitations and results of their own project at 3 levels, so the individual, the community, and the city. And then they'll make comparisons of findings with the European teammates, because during this time the European teammates will be doing exactly the same thing, and it will be very interesting for the Hong Kong students to know what the European side thinks about. And then they'll consider whether they could implement these ideas on a wider and higher level. And then finally they'll analyze what lessons can be learned and what improvements can be made based on the evaluation of their own city and findings from the European teammates. So yes, there are lots of different ideas. I forgot to mention there were especially valuable for geography. For instance, there are things like they can look at the geographical the information system, which they can get on the satellite, and they can observe kind of different from space what changes have been made to their own community, and then they could create these interactive queries which they can use as part of their design kind of phase in order to make the hypothesis, or something a little bit more simple perhaps. So in terms of documentation and presentation, which is the next bit, so they will document their project in the form of a blog and put the multimedia presentation onto Blackboard, and then hopefully they'll be co-presenting it with the European students at the final stage, and we'll talk about the details a little bit later. So after the 8 weeks, so we have 3 weeks at the beginning where they gather information, 2 weeks for the research tasks, and then 3 weeks to do this project. But afterwards, they'll have a few weeks also to finalize and then submit their project. So there's no, don't worry about finishing everything within that very strict 8 weeks, and we'll give you flexibility in that. But I hope that teachers will be able to spare a little bit of time if the students have a bit of a few questions to ask, or need your support or a little guidance towards finishing the project. That'll be really good. Right. And then we'll talk about the prizes, the awards and the results. So the most successful ideas, the project in terms of implementation, they will be awarded a certificate, EU certificate as what we call the Best Sustainability Ambassador, and they will be invited to present their project on Europe Day, hopefully on the 9th of May in Hong Kong, and in front of delegates of the EU. So, and we'll announce additional prizes at a later stage. So, yes, so for you teachers, we'll provide all the support and the materials that you need. So all you need to do is in terms of communication with us, is just to keep us in touch, keep us informed in terms of how you find the project and how whether the students are enjoying it, or even maybe if they're struggling a bit, you can feel free to tell us, and then we'll try and modify and adapt the content so that it will be more accessible and manageable for the students. So we'll provide you, yes, before, during, and also we'll be very happy to listen to any of your feedback. Yes, and that's very important, because on a lot of on the Blackboard there will be discussion forums and a lot of space for the students to discuss and put their ideas on. So we will be monitoring these platforms, these spaces, and we'll read your feedback. We'll read what the students have written. We're not we won't be assessing them or anything, but in case they have any questions or if they're stuck at some point, we'll try and facilitate the discussions to make everything go smoothly. Yes, so that will be our main task, what we'll do for you. And I guess we'll show you this in a second, the Blackboard. And for you teachers, I guess the main task for you is to identify the right group of students, not necessarily right, but interested students. Group of 4 to 8 students per school, and then 1 teacher mentor per group. So As I think, well, yes, some of you were mentioning that maybe if even one or more teacher want to manage one group, please feel free to do so. We'll be very happy if even a few teachers want to supervise or overlook this project to give the students the necessary support. We'll be very happy for that to happen. So yes, one local school group in Hong Kong will be paired up with a European school group, and those European school groups will be quite likely coming from one or more of these countries. So it'll be either be Finland, Sweden, Germany, Austria, France. So we are initially, well, we're contacting these schools. So hopefully we'll let you know as soon as we can what schools exactly you'll be working with. And then you'll be in charge of preparing these 90-minute sessions. I know it's quite a long time, 90 minutes, and it's quite it can be quite demanding for these 8 weeks. So what we will do is throughout the 8 weeks we'll keep you in touch, of course, and we'll provide you with a working plan for each of the 90 minutes. So we'll provide you with these rough guidelines which you can follow. Obviously, if you want to be a bit more flexible, you're very welcome to do that, but at the same time, if you're lost, you can always refer to these guidelines, which will be hopefully quite useful. Yes, and the point about teachers not needing to prepare anything before or after the sessions is that we think teachers should really learn with the students. Teachers obviously may know quite a bit about it, but at the same time they are, it's really nice if the teachers can kind of share the knowledge or yes, guide, facilitate the discussions with the students. So as I remember telling you in the facts, this is kind of the self-directed learning is what we are emphasizing the most. Self-directed, self-regulated learning. Learning at their own pace, that's really important. We give them flexibility in information and knowledge gathering. So communication skills, intercultural experiences, collaborative learning and co-construction of knowledge. These are kind of what we have in mind when we have we're designing this kind of project. Yes, so hopefully they'll have more practical knowledge and heightened awareness of sustainability as a whole by the end of the project, and that will allow them to develop more independent and innovative ideas. Because what we hope with sustainability is that it can really, especially for subjects like liberal studies or even geography, what we provide will adapt so much into some of the modules on environment, on globalization, that it hopefully at some point it will reduce the work of the teachers when they go about these subjects. Yes, so the project itself will allow them to observe and reflect more about the research in the community, so knowing and gathering information about the practices in their kind of community. We think that's quite beneficial. And finally, yes, these are the suggested subjects that we have in mind that you can put into. But yes, we are always very open-minded, and we think that we've targeted sciences as well. We could quite put it in here because for sciences. For biology, for example, some of our topics to do with food waste, to do with toxic materials, and so on, are quite relevant to sciences. So hopefully that will generate more interest from it.